sound foreign, but you see, God has called us to an extraordinary life. A life that is amazing, that is to the full, that we enjoy life, that we communicate with God through life. But very often we're not aware of this ability, our ability to communicate with God. When God created us in the image of God, when He created us in His image and after His likeness, it doesn't mean that God has 10 toes and 10 fingers and 2 nostrils. To be in the image of God does not mean that God looks like us. To be in the image of God means we have the capacity to communicate with God. We are the only creature on this planet that has the capacity to communicate with something transcendent, with God. It's something that is beyond this world. And this is like standing on the shoulders of a giant. It's like walking through life on the shoulders of a giant. And one example I give is of a little child walking through a marketplace. And just imagine this child so busy walking through this busy marketplace, and it's 4 years old, and mom is just walking behind. And the girl said to the mom, "Mom, listen, I want to walk alone." She's 4 years old, walking through this marketplace. And she's excited, and she's looking around, and she's seeing table legs, and she's seeing people moving from left to right. It's a fish market, so all of a sudden she sees an eyeball on the floor. It accidentally fell off the table. And she smells different smells, and she sees different things. Everything is overwhelming. She's walking through this marketplace. All of a sudden she trips and she falls. And she lifts her hands up, and what does she do? Mom, she starts crying. And what does Mom do? Mom quickly goes and picks her up, and her dress is all dirty, all dirty. And what does Mom say? "Oh my goodness, you're so dirty, stay there." Doesn't say that. What Mom does quickly is pick up the baby, pick up the child, and all of a sudden the child is no longer on the floor, but the child is seeing the world through the eyes of Mom. The perspective is totally different. All of a sudden the child is seeing the world through the eyes of Mom. And the table legs all of a sudden become tables. The eyeballs on the floor, she sees, that's where that eyeball came from that big fish over there. And she sees the octopus on the table, and she sees all these beautiful colored fish. And all of a sudden it becomes exciting. From that scary experience of walking alone, all of a sudden it becomes exciting. And this is how we were created. We were created to stand in the arms of God, to see the world through the eyes of God. But very often we sell ourselves short. We just walk through life thinking that it's okay, I can handle this alone. But we cannot handle life without a relationship with God. We cannot reach our full potential without a relationship with God. And as I said, I want to give you some examples of the way God speaks, for example, through imagination. I was studying, and I'll give you more than one example. Now, as I said, this may be strange, this may be unfair, this may be crazy, but it's what happened, and I'm ready to give even my life for what I saw and heard, and what I continue to see and what I continue to hear, having this amazing relationship with Jesus. Now, I was studying for my exam. It was a year 12 exam. This was my first clear experience. And I was studying so hard. I was studying accountancy, okay? And I studied and studied and studied and studied. And I used to do 8 hours of study. If I stood up to go to the bathroom, I'd stop the stopwatch to make sure I did 8 hours. I was really, really disciplined. And I had finished my 8 hours study the night, and the next day I had my exam. And I was about to close the book, and I said, "Jesus, listen," this is how I speak to Jesus. Well, if I'm driving in the car, I say, "Jesus, please help me find the parking space." Or I'm driving and I see a beautiful lady, I say, "Jesus, thank you for that beautiful lady." And I speak to God as a friend, okay? I'm very honest with God, and I open my heart to God. And I said, I was about to close the book, I said, "Jesus, listen, can you tell me what's coming out in the exam tomorrow? Can you tell me so I can study? Is there anything else you want me to study?" And in my imagination, maybe my imagination, I don't know, I heard this page 128, page 128. I said, "Oh my goodness, I have nothing to do." So I opened page 128, and I started to read from page 128. It was control accounts. You might know what control accounts. So it took me, I opened the book, I read through that thing, and it took me 45 minutes to work it out. And when I finished working that example, I closed the book and I didn't ask Jesus again, just in case he made me work for another 45 minutes. So I put the book away and I went to sleep. Next day I wake up and I go to the exam. And I'm excited, I feel prepared, I had studied. I sit down to do my exam, maybe 200 people in a room. It was a big examination hall, and we handed the papers. Now, you have 5 questions, okay? And you have to answer all 5 questions. Say you pass question 1, you get 100%. Question 2, 90%. Question 3, 80%. Question 4, 100%. And question 5, you get 40%. You fail the exam.